Welcome to another episode of the Preparing for Pregnancy After Loss podcast. I am here with the wonderful Kris Bailey, who is a birth worker and the founder of Birth Sent Lisi. Hey, Kris.
Hey, Natalie.
All right, so there is so much that I want to share with you about Kris. Let me read her bio to kick things off. So Kris Bailey is a perinatal professional based in New York City with 8 years of experience in the birth and postpartum wellness industry. She offers a well-rounded doula experience as a birth doula, postpartum doula, attachment parent coach, childbirth educator. She's also a certified lactation counselor and fertility advocate in training. Like all of that is like, wow.
It's a lot, right?
Kris's role as a birth doula is to provide emotional and physical support to a birthing individual during their labor and delivery, and reassurance and perspective to partners. Her goal during your pregnancy is to provide you with enough information and tools to feel confident on the onset of labor. Yay! I'm so happy that we get to have this conversation, Kris.
Likewise, finally. I'm so excited too.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
It is my honor, and I'm so grateful that we've had the opportunity to work together as doulas and also in your organization, Birth Sent Lisi. So we'll make sure that we have some time at the end to talk about that as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So let's start with what led to you becoming a doula. Like, when did you know that you wanted to become a doula? Like, what was the seed? How was this planted?
So I worked with Ancient Song Doula Services. They're a Brooklyn-based organization that train doulas. And I worked in an administrative role. I was a grad. I did accounting, right? My background is from accounting and numbers.
Wow.
So I would come to work every day, and I was fortunate enough to that office setup was full of doulas, birth workers, parents. So I was fortunate enough to bring my child to work with me. At the time, my baby was less than 1 year old.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm realizing that's not a thing for many people, and realizing how privileged I was to have that. It was so good on so many levels of parenting and bonding, but I'll get into that later. So in that role, I would work directly with doulas, ensuring that their paperwork was okay, their money, their payments were on time, making sure that they were in training, they were on track with their certifications and programming. And I eventually got my training as a doula with that same organization. And it was during the training, which I feel like had a lot of storytelling. A lot of people shared their birth stories, and as well as, tips and tricks, obviously. But it was moving. I had aha moments realizing this is a career. Like, this is something that I have actually had myself without naming them as doulas, but I know I was supported during my birth and my postpartum and even my pregnancies. And I always felt like I wanted to do the same for someone. So even, when my friends got pregnant, I was so excited when I got pregnant first in a cruise. So I was so excited when someone else got pregnant, so I could hand them my birth books so they could read. And I'm like, you have to read this. This is the Bible. It prepares you for everything. You'll know everything. Although I was a younger parent, when I became a parent, I was very much invested in my education around childbirth. And even parenting. So I was so eager when my friends started to enter that stage with me too. So once I realized I was a job, and with the program at Ancient Song, they had a grant from Every Mother Counts that ensured that all doulas would be trained. More doulas need to be trained in New York City to support the suffering demographic of Black and brown birthing people in Brooklyn at the time. So once I got trained, I almost immediately started working with teen moms or younger parents. So my parents would be like less than 21 years of age. A lot of them, came from Brooklyn, neighborhoods like Bed-Stuy, Brownsville, usually where they're underserved, or what they're rightfully deserving of was inaccessible for them, in their preparation for parenting.
Yeah.
So jumping into that role, I realized how bad that people who looked like me could be treated in birth. And I thought it was something that just happened where I had birthed in Saint Lucia. I thought that was okay, just a cultural thing. Our people are rude, that's just them. But coming here and working with these young people, and the shame and the things that were told to them just because of their age and what they look like, and maybe they didn't have a other co-parent as a support person, so there was also shame there. So jumping into that role really made me say, this is what you're going to do. Having the comfort and flexibility as being a parent, I got to work with my child, be with my child at the time, who was a younger one, was so essential to my own personal growth. So as a career choice, even moving away from something as solid as accounting, right? You could always find a job in accounting and could work for anyone with my degree. So my family and parents were like, what are you doing? What do you mean? You're starting a business, and this is like, you have a degree, the big five. But this is something that definitely felt more natural, more like, it didn't feel like work. It still doesn't feel like work all the time, it feels like I'm going to help you. I'm going to add ease into your life. So that's kind of what brought me there, from admin, working with people who look like me, and knowing that they needed advocacy. They needed someone to back them up. They needed someone to remind them of their own personal strength and power. And they need someone to help them in what is, one of the most powerful things that they may have done in their life.
Wow, that is so powerful. Thank you for that. And I had no idea that you worked at Ancient Songs, so it's interesting that that was the sort of the beginning for you into this work.
Yep, 8 years.
Wow. Yeah, so I find that many people don't know what being a birth doula is, that they sometimes confuse it with midwifery, and even fewer people know that having a postpartum doula is a thing.
Right.
And so I'd love for you to just share more about what that entails. Like, what does that support entail, being a birth doula and being a postpartum doula?
Exactly what you said, support looks different for everyone at every different stage of their life. Someone having their first pregnancy compared to their seventh pregnancy might have significantly different needs. At a foundation of doula support, it includes education, education around childbirth education. What can I expect? What can I expect in my weeks leading up to my birth? What can I expect when on the onset of labor? What can I do? What can my partner do? What is happening with my baby? What is happening with my body? What are some of the emotional changes, the hormonal changes, the physical changes that I'm going to endure? Talking about, as a doula, talking before your baby comes, what usually feels good for you? How do you calm yourself down when you're having a moment? What are some things that your partner does that makes you feel good? And taking all those things and mirroring it again while you're birthing, right? Education, physical support is a big part of it. So whether you want a epidural, no epidural, birthing at home, birthing in a hospital, your body is going to be doing a lot of things. So a doula, birth doula, is trained in helping you cope with that, right? Helping you with your breathing, helping you with your positioning, some counter pressure. I practice spinning babies, so I help families move their bodies in a way that it's balanced to help the baby get into an optimal birthing position, which helps promote a faster labor, or labor with more ease, right? An easier pushing, less time pushing because we're laboring down. As a postpartum doula, my role even plays a little part after their baby's born. So I stick with families 1 to 2 hours after their baby is born. We initiate that first latch if we can. We try breastfeeding. We try stimulating the breast to encourage lactation. And then if you hire me or a postpartum doula, we come into your home, right? We help you with those first tricky days. I think a lot of what we do is add ease into the process of either parenting or growing your family. So it's the tips and tricks, troubleshooting lactation. A lot of times we're either trying to boost milk supply, optimize a latching position. Bringing a baby home, you have to get to know your baby. You have to get to know yourself as this new parent, whether it's the first time or over and over again. So having a doula provides that safe space to even talk about those, processes and changes that you're navigating. The emotional, your doula can identify if you're having, perinatal mood disorders, like, okay, this isn't the baby blues, this is a little more. So let's talk to your doctor about it. Let's get you a therapist. Let's, connect you. So both in the birth and postpartum stage, your doula is also a major connector, connecting you to the resources. So actually, your doula isn't your everything, but they will make sure that you have the teams to support you, So a lot of times I connect my families with therapists, with physical floor therapists, chiropractors, IBCLCs, which are board certified lactation consultants, all those things, childcare sometimes, so your doula plays a major role in your path to parenting or growing your family from pregnancy to postpartum.
Yeah, I was sort of smiling from ear to ear as you were speaking, because the clients that I work with are clients who usually have like a higher level of fear or anxiety around pregnancy and childbirth because they've gone through a challenging journey. So whether it's a pregnancy loss or infertility or birth trauma, that then creates the anxiety in this pregnancy. And I find that whenever I recommend resources, it's like the anxiety starts to subside. Like, yes, someone can be in the room with you. Like those fears that you have, can be softened by having someone in the room with you. And after you give birth, someone can be there spending a few hours per day or even staying overnight with you. So I think we don't realize that, one, it really does take a village.
Yeah.
And even though we're in this modern world, there are ways that we can create the village by getting the experts, right? That have that care wrapped around you, because pregnancy and childbirth, it's huge. It's like a massive life-changing event.
Absolutely. And, even the language around birthing is what we do. We talk about that a lot. If you study the media, if you look at movies, you would think birth is this emergency. Her water just broke. Help me. That's not always it. A lot of people, their waters don't break on its own. It's something manipulated that happens in the hospital quite often. So a lot of your care team should be there exactly to normalize birth, to reassure you that it's okay. Like I said, my goal is for the onset of labor, like, okay, we're feeling contractions, that you feel confident that I have had enough preparation to know what to expect, or I know this person is a text away, so I'm not in, or this person is right with me, so I'm not in this alone. So a lot of what we do is help people chill and remember.
Yeah, and remember, right? Yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I would love to hear some of like your favorite birth story moments, but before we even get there, so that we can end on a higher note, what are some of the challenges in being a birth doula? What are some of the challenges that you may encounter?
Personally, I mean, birth doulas, when we're on call, we're very much attached to our phones, and we don't sleep the best because we're always thinking that someone's going to call and it would be the day that we miss it, but it's never happened.
This is bringing back memories.
Yeah, never happened. I've been to all my births, except you still feel that way. I think I think the lifestyle of a doula can be a little is compromising. You know, we're on call 2 weeks before your due dates, 2 weeks after your due date. So it's really hard to schedule dates and trips and spontaneous stuff being a doula. I think in a birthing setting, sometimes you do get some backlash from some people, maybe some nurses, like, who are you? I'm the nurse, I don't need you. Thankfully the conversation around that is changing and developing into something more welcoming towards doulas in most hospitals in New York City where I work. I think being witness to any kind of injustice or trauma is always hard. Yeah, that is one of the worst parts, where someone is being told a lie, frankly, in the birthing setting, right? Well, oh, you can't do that, or that's not allowed, or they've talked to a care provider about what their preferences are, and then they get to the birthing room and it's like, actually, no, that's not work, we can't do that, or it's limiting. So that's really hard to do that. Yeah, I think that might be the hardest part.
Yeah. That's a great list, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a solid list of things. You've covered the things. All right. So tell me about any moments when you've been like, I love my job. This is the best job ever.
I love my job a lot. So trying to identify a moment is a little, I'm trying to think. I've been to over 100 births, and all of them are so different. All of them are so, I think I'm always wowed by the body when we move it. I'm always fascinated where, so like I mentioned, I practice spinning babies. So sometimes a baby might be high up in the pelvic region, and we need the baby to come down for birth to progress. And I think I'm always fascinated when I do a series of movement with my clients, and within 45 minutes we make an incredible change that would regularly take hours, and it just happens with ease. That's always fascinating to me. Anytime I have a baby who just like comes out in like 15 minutes or so, I'm like, okay, look at you, you're ready for the world. I think I've had so many. Yeah, it's always a blessing these days. I shed tears when the babies come. So it's so interesting. I'm so close in proximity to the birthing people while they're laboring, and when the baby comes, there's usually a lot of staff, and there's the the parents and the baby, and I usually like silently inch my way back and retreat and let people have moments. And it's always so beautiful to see. Oh, I think I know one of my favorite moments. In birth, there's something that happens when the baby is just about to be born. I see a glow in the birthing person or mother's face. There's a glow that happens. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna have a baby soon. And it's always nice when it actually happens, because there's something changes in their face, in their body. There's a glow that happens. So it's always, I always shed a tear when the babies come. It's just, I don't know, it's a moving experience.
Yeah, that's actually making me teary-eyed, because the birthing experience is such a spiritual one. Yeah, so just the idea of that glow, like, it makes so much sense, because it's not just happening physically, like there are things happening on a spiritual and energetic level as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Thank you for that. So I'd love to chat more about postpartum doula support, because I feel like on the surface level, people are like, yeah, I want to have a baby. And like, they have the baby shower, they buy these things and cute clothes for the babies, because like the clothes are so adorable. They set up the nursery. And I don't think there is enough of a realistic expectation about how the body might change
Right.
and how a newborn baby has a lot of needs, just basically how all of the ways that you used to function as your normal unpregnant person and all of the ways that you used to function without the baby, like that changes. And so people don't realize how much they will need postpartum support
Yeah.
if there aren't members in their family to do so. So
Mm-hmm.
share more about examples of what that might look like, postpartum support.
Yeah, you're right. So as much as your people are planning for their birth, I
Mhm.
encourage everyone plan for when baby comes home. Have a birth, your birth preference sheet, also known as a birth plan, but also have a postpartum plan. You know, you
Mhm.
have so many chores and so many things that you regularly do as an individual. You have so many bills that needs to be paid on time. You have so many processes in your home that you regularly do. What's going to happen when the baby comes?
Mm.
So a lot of people have the expectation that they will just keep doing it and doing it, but then that leads to burnout usually. But
Yes.
if we have a plan for it, we're going to know what is it that if it wasn't done, I'm not going to be too mad about myself. But if my best friend comes over, I would love if she did that, right? So that's just one. Um, the other thing too is, as a postpartum doula, I love when grandparents rate me. I love when grandparents say, "Well, I've had 5 babies and I didn't know that." Oh wow, that's fascinating. Back in my day, you know, she's good. I like her. That's how I know I'm doing a good job, because grandma done approved me. You know, there's so much, there's a difference. I'm not replacing your mom or your mom-in-law, but I promise if you text me before I come, I will say the thing you want her to hear. Okay. So okay, yeah, we are putting, yes, I do encourage you to put the baby down during naps. Or I will say, we don't spoil babies, you know, because sometimes grandparents they're still in that space, or we're holding babies too much because we're spoiling them, right? Um, so I provide even more education when bringing baby home. That includes newborn care, infant care, simple, let me not say simple things because that doesn't feel good. But things like filing baby's nails, how to bathe a baby, how to swaddle a baby, how many layers do I need my child to be in safely, right? Kris, how does the temperature feel in here? You know, what can I do at X and Y hour? How can I arrange where I'm seating every day while I'm here to offer me, again, some ease, some comfort, accessibility to my snacks, my water, to my remote, to my, you know, everything that I need, so that if I want to breastfeed, that I don't have to feel like everything's all over the place. I come in and I help out. So while you're breastfeeding, can I do something in the kitchen? Can I organize something in the baby's room? Can I do some of the baby's laundry for you? What can feel like a thing that you don't have to do for yourself that I can help you with? Again, troubleshooting lactation. What can we do to increase production? What can we do to decrease production if we're in oversupply? What can we do to maintain what's already going on? Can you look into my baby's mouth, Kris? Make sure we have no tongue ties, no lip ties. Um, these are things we do in lactation, helping reminding you how to know, is my baby getting enough food, right? So we're counting diapers. I'm teaching you, you know, cool things to do to not burden yourself. I'm telling you what apps to download that can add some ease into your process. I'm holding the baby so you can get some sleep. I'm teaching you how to help your baby sleep. That's a good one. That's always my favorite one, when I make a little change in what the sleep environment is, and the next morning they text me like, "Oh my God, the baby slept." I don't know how, So, well, they know how, but they just like so wowed in how little changes can make such great impact. So having a postpartum doula with, that, and not just one level, but what about when you work in community and people need access to resources, people need, some kind of social welfare, or some any kind of resource. Some people need accessibility to diapers and formulas, so your doula can connect you with organizations that have that. Your doula can help you with, if you're in a domestic violence scenario, help you get access to safety. So doulas help practically in home, coming home, newborn care, but also tapping you and connecting you into the resources that you need that you may not even know exist for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, like my heart is just smiling right now. Like there's a great sense of overwhelm that people experience, but also the guilt and the shame. That's the big one. Like, oh, I'm a woman, or I just gave birth, so I should know, right? And if I don't know and I'm asking questions, then I'm not good enough as a mother or a parent. And there's just this feeling of shame, right, that you should already know, but how would you have known when you've just given birth? This is
Exactly.
new, right?
Exactly.
And so just like having that support.
Exactly. I always said my family's treat it as a new job. You're not expected to know the systems, the functions, or the entirety of your role. When you start a new job, you have a training period.
Right.
So the same thing with parenting or baby. And even if it's your first, your second, or your third child, sometimes you're gonna learn something new. You're not all the children are the same. Right. So I think I'm from the Caribbean. I'm from Saint Lucia, and I definitely had a lot of conscious shifts and learning when it came to asking for help, or even being deserving of help. I am a single parent, and for a while I wasn't even identifying as a single parent. I was just like, I'm a mom. I'm just gonna do what I have to do anyway. I used to, but then something happened. I used to feel offended when people are like, you're so strong. It's like, I don't want to be strong. I want to ask for help. I want to be weak right now. Do you not see me? Hello. Why do I
Yeah.
always have to be strong? So one of the shifts that happened is when I noticed how people ask for help here, or assign help is what I should say. How they're so free to do other things that still they develop and they build. So simple as dropping your laundry off sometimes, you know might free you up to do a little thing. You might spend more time outside taking a walk, spending more time with your own children or whatever. So yeah, definitely when it comes to even when I get Caribbean families as clients, I'm always so excited because I don't get them so much, because they're either doing it or powering through on their own, or think they got it, which they can. You can always, do it for yourself and be independent, but having help can improve your entire life. So I'm always
Yeah.
excited when I see other people getting that help.
Yeah. Well, this is also making me think of, well, firstly, just so much of what you said about the Caribbean experience resonates in terms of like not asking for help, convinced that you can do it on your own. It's like we hold this like armor, um, and like this badge of honor that we've got it. And that has many, many layers, which we won't even have time to get into. Um, Something else that came to mind as you were sharing is that birth doula support is often seen as a form of luxury. And
Yes.
so, unless you are of a certain, economic status, you think that it's not for you. And it isn't luxury. It's like care as you're giving birth, it's support as you're giving birth. It's like, it's basic, right?
Exactly.
Or it should be the standard, not basic, it should be the standard. And so there might be a
Exactly.
lot of people who don't even think of it because they think that it doesn't apply to them based on whatever their
Exactly.
economic status is. Yeah.
Exactly. And everyone is deserving. Everyone is deserving of
Mhm.
someone to bring the calm, someone to bring the reassurance, someone to
Mhm.
cheer them on. So much of
Mhm.
giving birth is like a marathon. You train for it, and you need cheerleaders, you need a coach to
Mhm.
remind you of what to do to get tap into your power. So, and you got to keep going, and it feels harder the closer you are to the end. So
Mhm.
everyone's deserving of people cheering them on.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, Kris, have you, for the people that you've worked with who are Black or people of color, has a part of their reason coming to you been, just worrying about dying in a hospital?
Yes. Yes. Um, yeah, in so many ways,
Mm-hmm.
either them or their children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a heartbreaking part too. That might be one of the hardest ones too.
Mm-hmm.
When you're like, no, actually, this is something you can do. Your body knows how to
Mm-hmm.
do. Um, and safety and trust is so essential in birth.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you think about like your chakras and that root chakra and that base and that safety that we feel right
Mm-hmm.
there, it's so important. That's where you're birthing from. That's
Mm-hmm.
that same region, that's that same area. So
Yeah.
we have to build trust. So we have to release our fear. So when I work with these families, a lot of what we do is release work and encouraging work and positive affirmation,
Mm-hmm.
and communicating your needs and your questions. That can help.
Mm-hmm.
Even tapping into sound, like sometimes I would play root chakra meditation or grounding
Mm-hmm.
music, because word sound frequency, all of these things are transformative.
Mm-hmm.
And that can help too. But it's so, and it's a validated fear. We see the statistics, we see what people like us have to go through. I see it
Mm-hmm.
when I'm in the hospitals. um, and there's so much work that has to be done systematically,
Mm-hmm.
internally within hospitals, to change that narrative.
Yeah.
So I'm always excited and happy when I see hospitals and organizations working collaboratively to make those changes, because people shouldn't feel afraid to die when giving birth. They shouldn't feel afraid to die.
It's insane, and it's real, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shouldn't feel afraid to die.
Yeah. I had a podcast episode a few episodes ago where I was talking about, um, I think it was like the link between, like sexual assault or sexual trauma and the birthing experience, how when your body is like tight and frozen, how that impacts birth. And I spoke a lot about having a doula, having that support so that you can start to release those fears. Like you don't have to hold everything on your own, because there are people in the room who have your back, who you can trust. And so this part of the conversation is reminding me of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I also did a lot of venting towards the medical, like a lot of venting. I had to re-listen to it, like, do I want to post this? And I was like, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And the part of it is because it's happening. And then I also did the spinning babies training with alongside hospital staff,
Mm-hmm.
and just hearing their experience, seeing their day, I was like, shit, they have it hard. Like they're assigned to all of these patients. I'm calling it patients, but it's like it's a birthing person. If
Yes.
there's no medical emergency, it's like a person
Yes.
giving birth. But they're assigned to all of these people, um, and they're in a system that operates the way it does, and so it gave me a lot of compassion for them and for their experience. And I definitely agree that for me was, an opening into changing the conversation, that we're all here to help this person have the most positive birthing experience as possible. And
Absolutely.
if we just support each other in our roles and understand the importance of our roles, then, how much better can that be for the person who's giving birth?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
I'm feeling a lot of appreciation for you, for birth work, for the work that we do, for the work that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, my heart is like in that place now. All
And
right, so I don't want us to run out of time because we have to talk
right.
about Birth Sent Lisi. You mentioned
Yes.
births, you mentioned, being from Saint Lucia. So what led to the creation of Birth Sent Lisi?
Birth Sent Lisi. So I am from the beautiful island of Saint Lucia. And while it is a wonderful tourist destination, you can do your honeymoon, your baby moon, your wedding, your ghost retreat. You should go to the Sulphur Springs. It's gorgeous. While you could do all these lovely things there, the way in which people are treated in birth are not so remarkable. Similarly to what we see here, rude, injustice, negligence, a lot of that happens. So when I became a doula, I would, be active on social media, sharing, I'm going to a birth, I'm doing this, da, da, da. Maybe I'll share a highlight from a birth or something, and people would start to reach out to me. So even before the pandemic, I was offering virtual support for families down there. And I quickly realized how much they lacked access to quality education for the first part, for childbirth education, for quality childbirth education. And, they were often left alone in the birthing spaces down there. So while most people are getting, it's a right to want to have an epidural, right? It's a choice. You have a choice to decide how you want to birth. But for many people in Saint Lucia, having an epidural is not even an option, right? To go to the hospital, the private hospital that has epidurals, it costs thousands of dollars that you have to pay out of pocket even before the baby's born. So it's completely inaccessible to the greater population, the greater birthing population. So not only are people doing this with no education on how can I ease the pain, but they're often having to do this alone with an environment that belittles them, that maybe mocks them for being too young or being, out of wedlock or something, which is a great part of the birthing population again. And then it follows through in postpartum with not so much support in terms of like lactation or ease of access to resources, or again with this strong mentality that we shouldn't do it all by ourselves. People often resort to things that are less than ideal. So once I've noticed that, and also people started to reach out to me with their own interest in becoming doulas, like for sure I'll tell you how to become a doula, but also realizing the cost to become a doula is high, especially when there's a currency exchange. So once I started to work with my doulas, every time I found like a scholarship or a low cost fund, I would share it. Please do it, try to help people get scholarships. Eventually, if I worked with somebody over a period of time and I realized they had a great interest, I would be more than happy to write a referral letter for them to get a free scholarship and get educated. So that's kind of, I think that was the question. That's kind of how it started. How it's going is we have, doulas in training right now. We have a doula / childbirth educator in training, hoping to get a lactation consultant in training. Birth Sent Lisi aims to have the first of its kind, which doula collective, to support the birthing families of Saint Lucia. Right? We want to inform, educate, support, and do all the wonderful things here. We want people to know that this is an option. We want people to know that they don't have to do it alone. So a big part of it is from both ends, trying to get people to get trained, making sure that they have access to quality trainings and certification, and that they have the means. So training is one, certification is the other milestone. So you could train to become a doula, but there are certain things, books you have to read, things you have to write, other classes you have to take, classes you have to audit, families you have to work with in order to get those credentials. So Birth Sent Lisi has a coordinator on the team who makes sure everyone has all those things that they need. Certification and trying to do the turnaround pretty quickly so we can start supporting families right away.
Amazing. Wow. Are there any challenges that you've encountered or that you anticipate encountering as you're moving forward with this?
Yeah. Anytime you're making such a big change compared to what people have been doing for generations and generations, when
Mhm.
you're starting to come into a system that has already been built, you know, that doesn't prioritize the autonomy,
Mhm.
and where birthing rights and justice isn't even part of the language and the context in which they operate. Of,
Mhm.
of course, they're like, who are you? Go back to America, sell out. We've been doing this, we've got this. I'm a midwife. What do you mean? That's kind of what it's like.
Mhm.
But we do have people who work in the hospitals who are like, listen, we're understaffed, we're overworked, we
Mhm.
need people like you. They
Yeah.
even want to train as it. So that's the beauty of it all. You have some people who are for it, and the people who don't, the people who are not necessarily on board right away, the people who don't understand it. So Birth Sent Lisi is working really hard to show this is what we do, these are the benefits, and this is how it can help you. So yeah, I think, yeah, that's the biggest challenge, changing that complete narrative shift.
Mhm. Yeah, amazing. Um, how can we support your work?
You can support Birth Sent Lisi, the birthing people of Saint Lucia, birth enthusiasts ready to be trained, by simply buying a t-shirt. We have a store on Bonfire,
Mhm.
um, and I will share that link, Bonfire,
Mhm.
where you can buy birth t-shirts with strong birth messages. So we have a Put Some Respect on Birth shirt that just came out, because that's what you got to do. And we have another
Nice.
one that did really well, Black Birthing
Is that
People.
one of the shirts?
Yeah, we just launched that one.
Okay.
And the other one was is Black birthing people deserve to have their pain taken seriously, because a lot of times they're like,
Mhm.
oh well, you can endure, it's okay, stop making noise. Even that's
Mhm.
something that really happens.
Mhm.
Directly you can support by donations. If you are an organization that trains doulas, we're always looking for partnership to help these
Mhm.
doulas get trained. If you have birthing supplies, birth balls, essential oils, anything that can make someone else's birth and labor experience easier, we welcome it with open arms. We send them down
Mhm.
all the time to Saint Lucia.
Awesome. So if someone wanted to send something to you, they would be able to reach out to you and coordinate all of
Yes,
that.
you can reach me. We are at Birth Sent Lisi, which is SENT. So Birth,
Mhm.
BirthSentLisi.
Mhm.
Find us on Instagram.
Mhm.
My
Awesome.
website is birthandbabyservices.com, and you can also reach me there.
Awesome. And I'll include all of those links in the show notes as well. Kris, I just want to like hug you in the screen, just like squeeze you.
Hugging me right now.
Because you are so awesome. I love the beautiful work that you're doing. I love how much you love the work that you're doing. I love that you have seen this need and that you're answering the call. And I just want to support Birth Sent Lisi in any way that I can. And I'm excited for just like all that will unfold, because it's a really, really beautiful initiative.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah. All
value I
right.
value you, appreciate you, the wonderful work that you do, the platforms you are building, the
Thank
way in which you support myself and other birth workers, Natalie. You're incredible. Your
you.
light, yourself, you're calm. Like,
I'm blushing now.
so, 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 so highly valued. You have a gift, and
Thank you.
I'm honored to get to share some of that with you whenever we link up.
Oh,
Virtually. I
thank
don't
you.
think we met in person. Oh,
Oh my gosh,
exactly. You
we
make
haven't.
so
That
much.
is insane, right?
Yes, and you've been able to make so much impact virtually. So
Oh,
solid. Wishing you the best. So grateful. Thank you for sharing your platform with me.
of course, my pleasure. Any final words that you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Breathe, release, and relax.
Mhm.
Ease into your day. Yes, just breathe, take it all in, release, and relax.
Ashe, received. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, y'all. Thank you for joining us for this joyful episode featuring Kris Bailey. And I will share all the ways that you can keep in touch with her and support her wonderful work with Birth Sent Lisi. Thank you all. Bye.